Hello and welcome to part 2 on making a great Dungeons & Dragons livestream. If you haven't seen part 1, it's linked up here or in the description down below, but this is part 2, talking about the type of gear that I recommend you should get and how to make it look decent for your home game. If you're running a online D&D game, then this video is not going to be super helpful to you, but it might still be informative for when you eventually want to transition to playing, D&D in person. But if you're trying to set up a D&D livestream and everybody is in person, this is the video for you. Last video, we talked about some of the do's and don'ts, and primarily about setting up good quality audio and making sure you can hear everybody exceptionally well, and also making sure people can see what the hell's going on in your live stream. And we also lightly talked on how to make a good quality overlay that doesn't take away from the actual game being played and isn't too distracting. And now we're gonna put that all together, and I'm gonna show you what your final D&D live stream should look roughly like, and what type of equipment you should use. Starting with the most important thing, the audio. Like I mentioned in the last video, there are basically 3 ways you can go about setting up audio for your live stream. You can either do overhead microphones like you see here, you can do lapel microphones, which is similar to what you're hearing right now, or you could do broadcast microphones directly in front of the players. Each one of them has pros and cons. The number 1 pro for lapel microphones is that you'll never see them, and they're very good quality. The con is that they rely on wireless technology, which means you need to recharge batteries, and if the players go home with them, then you're shit out of luck, and players have to make sure they put them on correctly, and if they go to the bathroom while you're live, guess what? You're gonna hear that on the stream. The pros for microphones being directly in front of you is that they're the best sounding quality. They sound absolutely amazing. The con is that they take up a lot of space on the desk, and players are constantly hiding half of their face behind a microphone and making sure they are placing their face in front of the microphone at all times. Otherwise, because it's usually dynamic microphones, if they're over here, they sound pretty awful. And then there's the overhead microphones. The pro is that they're completely out of the way and they don't have to be worried about being fiddled with or wireless technology or anything like that, and you're just set and forget. The con is that they're the most expensive. And you're gonna see in just a moment what I mean by that. If you are doing overhead microphones, it's definitely the most expensive and it's gonna take the most equipment. For example, these here, all 5 of these microphones are the same Rode NTG2, which is about 400 Canadian dollars. And that is just the microphones. You also need to get the XLR cables that run down the whole length to get into your computer. You also need the boom stands to hold all the microphones. And then you also need extra microphone clamps if you have 2 people sitting across from each other and you're gonna use 1 boom pole. You gotta get one of those as well. And then this isn't really necessary. This is just a sealing mount with some string. But hey, if you're worried about those clamps maybe failing one day on stream, that's at least a little thing to keep your sanity in check, that the whole thing isn't just gonna come down on your players. This will actually help. And also with overhead microphones, placement is more important than anything. With lapels, you put them on the person, they're set and forget. With microphones directly in front of them, they're set and forget. These are almost set and forget, but you gotta make sure you point them in the right direction when you set them up. Because the shotgun microphone sends out a beam of where it picks up audio, it's not like a big oval, it's more of a beam. You need to make sure that beam lines up with where that player is going to be sitting and talking, so that the audio they project goes into that beam, and you want that beam as close to them as possible to make for the best audio. But if you wanna have a clean looking stream, you have to make sure that it's high enough and out of the way that it doesn't get a camera shot. So it's a very fine balancing act of making sure it's close enough to the player that they can be heard, but also far enough away from the player that the cameras can't pick them up. And there are many overhead shotgun microphones that you could get for your live streams. I went with the Rode NTG2s because I like them, I trust them, I've had them for hundreds of years. That's an exaggeration. I'm clearly not hundreds of years old. Otherwise I'd have pointy ears and my name would be like Galindrier or something like that. But I've had a Rode NTG2 ever since I went to school, and it still works perfectly to this day, so I trust them and I love the way they sound, which is why I got them for all my players. Now for myself, however, I don't have a Rode NTG2. I'm using a Rode NTG5, which comes as a stereo pair, and I'm just using one of them behind my desk currently. I may upgrade it in the future, but for now, it's fine. Now, if you're just running a podcast, this is all you need. You just need microphones. You do need something to record them all into, and that could be something like a mixer or audio interface of some kind. What I'm running is a mixer. What kind of mixer? Well, this is the Zoom LiveTrack L8. It's a 6 microphone channel board. You could go up to 8, but those last 2 are line inputs, not mic inputs. So if you just have microphones, then this will do 6 people. 5, including the DM, myself. This works perfectly for me. And this machine, also not cheap, it's about 500 Canadian. So remember when I said that if you're gonna do a D&D live stream and you want it to actually be good, that you better start putting money aside? Yeah. We've just talked about microphones. We haven't even talked about cameras yet. But speaking of, we're gonna start with the cheapest cameras that I have, and then we'll go to the other ones. For me, the DM, I'm currently using a Logitech C920. You know this microphone. Anybody who's ever done YouTube or live streaming knows this microphone. It is the #1 microphone in the world. Now it doesn't sit here when I'm DMing, it sits higher up here on a boom arm. It's something like this, it's coming in, but it will be sitting on an actual camera boom arm, not a microphone boom arm. So it's out of the way and at eye line with me, facing me. Now this camera is not something I bought just for this game. This is something that I had already purchased long time ago and I'm repurposing for myself. But for this side and this side, I'm using another Logitech camera that you might have heard of, and that's called the Brio 4K. These microphones are incredible quality. They do run on USB-C and the USB-C cables are not very long, so you will likely have to get a USB extension for them. But once you do, and you go into manual settings, if you leave them on auto, so help you God, but if you manually set these up and you get them all fine-tuned, incredible. They are also roughly $250 each. I've got one here pointed to this side for the table, and then I've got one mounted up there, of course, pointed to this side of the table. Now, if you just had those microphones and those cameras, you're about 80% of the way there, but you might find that the cameras still look like shit. Well, how can they look like shit? You spent so much money on them. Well, that's because cameras are only as good as the lighting you provide them, which is why you might have seen I have things like this, and that, and that, and that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. The more light you can provide to your subjects, the less work your camera has to do, and therefore, the better it performs. So that's why I have all these lights set up and turned on when we're playing, facing the players to give them as much light as possible, so then when I manually set the webcams and turn the exposure down quite a bit, the webcam doesn't need to work as hard to make the picture look as good, and therefore, because it's not working so hard, the quality looks better. So it doesn't matter how much money you spend on webcams. That's why I'm reusing that one. That one's like $60, but it still looks great because I give it enough lighting that it doesn't have to work really hard to look great and therefore reduce in quality. And all of that is going into this PC down here. This is a PC I built dedicated just for streaming. It doesn't have anything fancy. It doesn't have anything super expensive. I just made sure it has enough storage and a really good CPU and GPU for streaming. And that's all the equipment. So when you put that all together, what does it end up looking like? Well, for the first time I ever ran the game, it looked and sounded like this.
What kind of fish do you have in this area?
I got fish that swim in the sea.
Well,
You know, them fish that swim in like goldfish, trout, salmon, even them big sturgeon like ones. I even got an oarfish. You wouldn't believe it, but I got it. It's my body pillow. You ever seen an oarfish? Them fuckers long as hell. Those fuckers like 15 kilometers long.
Which, as you can tell, is not very great. I had a lot of technical problems. Some microphones that I thought were working just weren't working at all. The cameras aren't super dialed in, and it's just an average D&D live stream. It looks okay, but it doesn't sound very good. But what you might have noticed is that the UI, I'm actually quite proud of. Now, I did take some thematics with the UI and put a couple of little things like the rat and the ship there because it fit the theme of the one-shot we were doing. But if you remove those, and just look at the UI, it's clean, which is something I hampered on in that last video so hard. You do not need a bunch of text on screen. It takes away from the game. You do not need a bunch of animations on screen. It takes away from the game. You want something that is subtle, clearly defined, that showcases what is going on and only enhances what you're seeing and doesn't pull focus away from it. If you have all your social links plastered all over the UI, you are not paying attention to the game. You are trying to read all these social links that you may or may not check out later. Be honest with me, how many times have you been watching a live stream and someone has a little pop-up that says, hey, check me out on Instagram? How many of you were actually going to Instagram, typing in that at whatever the hell the name is there after seeing it on stream? I think it is less than 1% of you. So if you're not clicking on it or even going and typing it in manually after you see it on somebody else's stream, do you think viewers are gonna do it when they see it on your stream? No! So save yourself the effort and don't put it there. Keep your UIs clean and simple. Simple and clean is the way that that you're making me feel tonight. It will look better, it will feel better, and it will look professional. And if your streams look professional, that makes people want to watch it more. Because if it looks average and grungy, it's not giving off a lot of good vibes for people to want to come down and check it out. But if it looks professional and it sounds professional, like there's some good quality behind that, well, people are gonna be fucking drawn to that, man. And as of the last one shot I ran a couple of days, now that I've got everything mostly fine-tuned, now it looks and sounds like this.
What is that delightful song?
More, please.
Yikes.
It's like. But you say that to yourself, so I don't.
I'm kind of like mumbling it, unless you're like really close to me. It's just
I'm not really sure where you would be or nor where I'd be. We are in a wagon camp.
Yeah, it is a small traveler's hub. There's not a whole lot here. There's the essentials, and maybe 4 to 5 of these residents actually are permanent and run this camp, but most of them are just traveling merchants from here to there.
All right, I'd probably be
This is
sitting
a
in the
waypoint.
back of a wagon. Not too far away from where the campfire would have been.
And it's pretty close to how I want things to look and sound. There's a couple of things I'm gonna be changing by the time I do the next live stream, but for now, I'm pretty goddamn proud of that. And you can be too. You don't need to use the exact same microphones I'm using. You don't need to use the same webcams I'm using, but you do need good quality gear. And again, it's going to take time and it's going to cost money. But anything that is worthwhile will take time and money. Because can you run a D&D live stream with a bunch of no-name brand webcams and one omnidirectional mic set in the middle of the game board? Yeah, of course you can. And if you don't care about getting an audience, or if you don't care about watching your own streams back and being able to hear everybody, then fucking go for it, man. You do you, and whatever makes you happy and whatever makes you smile, absolutely go for it. But if you want to make this successful, maybe even turn a profit one day, then you need to treat it like it's professional, and you need to treat it like something that can turn in a profit. Think of the live stream D&D games that you like watching and try and emulate those. Scroll Twitch's D&D channels, look at all the different D&D live streamers are there, click on them, watch them, and listen to them. And if they do not sound or look like games that you would watch, then don't make your games like that. Make sure you get good audio, make sure you get good lighting, and make sure you get good cameras. As the last part, you don't even really need good cameras, but you definitely need good lighting, and you absolutely need good audio. If you can do all of that, then I think you can make an amazing D&D live stream for you, your players, and any potential audience that you think wants to watch your stories unfold.